When I found out I was going to be a parent, I immediately felt a lot of anxiety and worry. So I went on to BetterHelp to try to look for a therapist to help me with that.
My relationship with my family and with my boyfriend and with myself were suffering. I really needed help.
I was ruminating a lot. Really getting those thoughts out to a therapist and getting feedback was just life-changing.
Discover what BetterHelp Online Therapy can do for you. Visit BetterHelp.com today.
Welcome to the Instagram Stories for Monday, August 30th. I'm your host, Daniel Hill. In case you didn't know, we do this thing on Monday that I invented called Mosseri Monday. And what we do is review the clips that the head of Instagram, Adam Mosseri, shared on his Ask Me Anything on Friday. Now, this past week, he didn't do the Ask Me Anything on Friday. He did it on Tuesday, which is very confusing. Anyway, here are some of the clips that he shared that I think are important for you to know about. The first one is a question. It's really a statement. It just says, we want more reach. We all want that. Obviously, that's the point. To give us more reach is why we're here. Here's his answer.
Most people want more reach. Unfortunately, there is no silver bullet. My advice is try to be explicit about what you want out of your Instagram and go for that, not just reach, but to what end. Experiment to figure out what your specific audience is into and lean into video.
Okay, I can't fault him for that. That's great advice. I think a lot of people just say, I want more followers, but why? I want more sales. Okay, but why? What is the underlying thing that you're hoping to accomplish with your Instagram? Is it just so people know you exist? Well, Instagram is, and social media is all about awareness, but what are you doing specifically to make sure that you reach that goal, and how specific can you get that goal? I do agree with everything that he said. Next question. Why are there so many ads on Instagram? Man, is that so true. Here's the answer.
Ads are how we keep Instagram free, but interestingly enough, about half of what people think of as ads on Instagram aren't ads that Instagram gets paid for. They're content that people are posting on Instagram to try to promote something. And so we're trying to figure out how to balance that as best we can.
It makes sense. You probably follow a lot of influencers or creators who post sponsored content. Sometimes it's clear that it's sponsored content, and sometimes it's not. So I see his point. However, there are too many ads on Instagram. Every 2 stories, you probably see an ad, and every 2 feed posts, you probably see an ad, maybe less. But the point is, there are ads everywhere, and no one really likes them. Next question, and I think this is something we've talked about a lot. Are there any plans for Instagram content creators to get paid? This is something Instagram is working on, but here's his answer.
We're exploring a range of different ways to help creators get paid. In the commerce space, things like affiliate marketing, which we announced more recently, and more work to do on branded content and merchandise. Ways for users to pay creators directly, like subscriptions and tips, and rev share.
Okay, next question, and I think this is a good one. Password/ID should be mandatory for every Instagram account. I'm a product manager. I mention that every once in a while on the show. And as product managers, we always think about all the pros of requiring something like this, but also all the cons that can go with it. And he does a really good job of explaining the pros and the cons for this type of verification system when creating an Instagram account.
This is actually a pretty contentious point. People do ask us about this, but a lot of people don't have an ID or a passport or access to one. Maybe they're too young, or maybe they live in a country or a part of the world where it's difficult. And so there are equity issues to be considered here too.
Okay, next question. How's Reels going? I think you can guess. It's going, but also TikTok is still better. I say that all the time because it's true. Here's his answer.
Reels is both growing more quickly than most anything we've ever seen on Instagram, and we are quite far behind the competition, particularly TikTok, in countries like the US. So some good news and some bad news, and a lot more work to do.
Okay, and the last question we're going to consider today, is the Taliban allowed on Instagram? Great question. Here's the answer.
The Taliban is not allowed to be on Instagram. They're under US sanction, and as a result, based on our policies, we don't allow any presence, celebratory or otherwise, of the Taliban on Instagram or on Facebook for that matter.
Okay, that's it for today's show. Come back tomorrow. We're going to get into the question of whether or not it's better to put your hashtags on Instagram in the caption of your post or the first comment, and what Instagram says about that. They've recently released some new information, and we're going to talk about it. Come back tomorrow for more Instagram news, strategy, tips, and more right here on your smart speaker or Apple Music or Spotify or wherever you listen.